Hello everyone, this is Neronium. Welcome back to Final Fantasy X-2 plus Last Mission. Last time we checked out the comm spheres and managed to get Tobly to run the show for us. But before we get into the rest of the chapter, I feel the need that we need to do a few things in the Fiend Arena. For those that don't know, there are two ways to get the last dress sphere that we need in the game. The first is in Chapter 5 to beat every single chapter area with a chapter complete. That's a lot harder than you might think it is, because that involves fighting super bosses without this dress sphere. Well, in Final Fantasy X-2 International and subsequently the HD version, there is another way. There is a cup known as the Youth League Cup that you unlock by beating the Grand Cup Hard Mode, which is where I got the Intrepid garment grid for leveling things up, 6 times. Upon beating it 6 times, you unlock the Youth League Cup. Beat the Youth League Cup, you get the final dress sphere, the Mascot dress sphere. Now that seems simple enough, right? Wrong. As you can see, I have beaten the Grand Cup 4 times as of the point of this game, even with my overpowered self. There are 2 enemies in particular that lead to a problem for you being able to try and beat the Grand Cup hard. And we're going to go over what those 2 are and how I decided to overcome them. So, what you need to do is get to the final bracket 6 times and then the Youth League Cup will unlock. The Cactar and Chocobo Cup unlock as well inside of the Grand Cup upon beating certain challenges. But what are the 2 challenges inside of the Grand Cup? Well, we're about to fight the first one, and that is the Shady Duo, which honestly I find to be the harder of the 2. The Shady Duo are a special fungus and a black elemental. They both know Ultima. The Black Elemental sometimes will end up oversouling. And the Mushroom also knows Ultima and will try to oversoul to destroy you, or will cast Flare. Both of these 2 together are nigh unstoppable at times. But what you have to do is get Ribbon before Pernicious Powder goes off. Or have Ribbon, because Pernicious Powder puts you with all status ailments, including what happened here. So we dead. There's nothing we can do. This thing will constantly use Pernicious Powder if people are above, but at the same time, they'll also use Ultima. Shady Duo are the harder of the 2. Now, what could be the other one, you might be wondering? Well, you might notice it in the next one we do. The next one we're gonna do is going to be, first off, trying to set up the garment grids, because I tried to do this with the girls to make it easier, because, you know, I don't have that many enemies with me. I don't have any fiends or anything, but we're gonna fix that later in this episode. So, the reason why I start off on the warrior usually is because the other enemy is a Tonberry. A Mega Tonberry at that. And the Mega Tonberry can actually be defeated with the warrior using Sentinel getting it into a loop, because the Mega Tonberry will always go after the person who's the furthest away from it at that given time. Now, that seems like a lot. If you have the Adamantite too, it also helps out greatly with trying to... how should I put this? With surviving attacks, because the Mega Tonberry usually will hit you for 9,999 damage. So yeah, it's kind of a mean enemy. And as we're about to see with the Megaton Berry, we got ambushed by it. It uses Chef Knife, can instantly kill if you are not using Sentinel immediately. So the strategy with this one is actually to have someone, 2 of the girls Sentinel, the 3rd one attacks. Problem is, sometimes when you're in a setup like this, you can't really tell which one it's gonna go after. As we're gonna see, I get close with this one, but I don't succeed. And unfortunately, it's because, well, you gotta do a lot to try and stay alive with the Megaton Berry. There is a dungeon in this game where these things roam around freely. It is the hardest dungeon in the whole game. And is one of the reasons why I'm kind of debating, do I want to continue or just, you know, go to where I need to go. Megaton Berry, without oversouling, has around 48,000 HP. But it has high defenses. That's the problem. So as you can see, I'm getting a good rhythm going. I'm trying my bestest here. So, let us try Sentinel. If you can do this right, you can beat the Megaton Berry just fine. Problem is the Shady Duo, because the Shady Duo can beat the Megaton Berry. And that leads to a problem. So now I'm in a good position to where I'm like, okay, maybe if I cast haste, it'll do that. But now, I've lost track. And I accidentally got Pain killed. This happens a lot. Alright, let's try a Phoenix down. And then sometimes the Megaton Berry likes to go and...
Cheer up!
So I'm already in a bad loop. Chances are I'm gonna lose this. In fact, I didn't know why I kept trying this, because Megaton Berry is being kind of a jerk. Okay, make a potion. And it's Chef Knife. So as you can see, it's kind of precarious. But you might be wondering, well then, if you can't beat this, one, why am I still watching it? That is a good question. I ask myself that every day. And then two, how will I be able to get forward? Well, I just show how easy it is to lose track and mess up, like how I do. Stabby, stabby. I can't say he's got a little stabby knife. He's got a big old stabby knife. And keep in mind, when the Megaton Berry gets to a certain threshold, it will actually end up using Karma, which can instantly kill you if you're not careful. So I got lucky right there, but this is an unwinnable battle. Just know that I don't win this one because Megaton Berry, he's got a little stabby knife. Well, it's not little, he's big. He's a big old stabby knife. And it's at this point I realize, okay, I think I'm going to die. So I let that happen. And now we cut to what I did. And that is, we captured some fiends. I got a fiend with break damage limit. It learned it pretty rapidly. And that was the Chocobo Eater from the Mi'ihen High Road with a large pod. Now, you can teach the fiends different moves. These moves can be used by the fiend, but you have no control over when they use it except for the stars by hitting the L3 or R3 button to increase damage or do things. I taught it MP Absorb. I've given it the abominable Garment Grid to give it Ribbon. And I have given it the Berserker Garment Grid. Well, Dress Sphere. And this, along with the Adamantite, have given it immense power. But that's not all. No, we also taught it Vigor, which is probably the best move you could teach a fiend in this arena because it's a free heal. Especially if you're as strong as Chocobo Eater here. As you can see, every time I'm hitting it, this thing's using Chef's Knife. This thing is stabbing me. Stabbing me good. I can say it's a little stabby knife now because compared to Chocobo Eater, this thing's not too big. Now, that's not all I have taught besides MP Absorb and Vigor. I had it unlearn Flare, so it can learn Reflect. Because if you use Reflect on yourself, which Chocobo Eater gets the idea to do, sometimes, it can make quick work of the Black Elemental. Because Reflect can reflect any spell except for Ultima. Ultima is the only spell that Reflect will not hit. Well, will not reflect. So as you can see, it casts Reflect on itself. I thought it was going to cast Haste on itself, because it does have a Speed Bracer to give it more agility and auto haste, but it decides not to use it, because what happens with Fiend Arena Fiends is the more moves they learn, there's a priority list of what they'll use. So there we go. So now we've got the Shady Duo to deal with, and you'll see that Chocobo Eater is more than capable. Problem is, it takes a long time. A very long time at that. So, let's beat up the tarantula. Beat up the crab. I'm gonna punch the crab. MP Absorb. Punch. I killed the crab. And Chocobo Eater is level 73. Now, mind you, this took me a while to build up. The main thing you're gonna wanna do when fighting with an enemy to make sure that they have Vigor, they need Turbo Ethers. They need at least 3 Turbo Ethers to learn Vigor. So here you can see the Mushroom Cloud oversold. Normally, it's the other way around. The Black Elemental does. So as you can see, I cast Reflect right away. Now that the Mushroom has cast an Oversoul, that actually does change their AI. There are 3 different layouts that I've learned in the many hours it took to me to get to this point. And they are that if the Mushroom Oversouls, it will use magic more often, and the Elemental will not use Ultima until it's closer to dying. If the Black Elemental oversouls, it's going to use Ultima a whole lot. It also learns Regen upon doing that. Because when it oversouls, it gains a new move, which is Regeneration, and trust me, that one is annoying. So, we just have to wait for this to play on out, because they can do literally nothing to me. Flare does a lot of damage. And it's at this point I realized, you know what, I didn't need MP Absorb, but it works. Because if the elementals run out of MP, which the hard part is elementals have a boatload of MP and I believe 1 MP cost, it takes a while. Alright, so punchy time. Punchy time. So, here comes the Ultima. Oh no, I'm finally getting hurt. As you can see, that does a lot of damage. Vigor. Now, one thing about the stars I should mention. If you put it at 5 stars, enemies will do more damage to you as well because your defense is decreased, but your offense increases. So just keep that in mind because you don't always want to spam 5-star in the Youth League Cup, which is what we're going to be doing in the next episode. Because next episode, oh boy. I tried going with the team that a lot of guides recommend, which is a Tonberry, a Chocobo, and an Elemental. You can usually do any type of Elemental, but the guides usually go for like, okay, this is the earliest team you can get that can get you the mascot dress sphere through the Youth League Cup by beating Shady Duo and Black Elemental. And they are at least a Tonberry and a Chocobo and some sort of Elemental. So there goes the mushroom. So now it's just using magic up. And I have auto regen because Berserk, the Berserker dress sphere, adds auto regen. So this thing is over halfway dead, so it's now going to start using Ultima. And that does, because it doesn't have break damage limit, that does max damage. Even with the Adamantite at 255 magic defense and defense. But with that, we've beaten the Shady Duo. That makes for number 5's defeat. So now we're going to cut to number 6. But first things first, let's see what we get. You get an X potion and the Cerulean Ring. So that's 5. One more. So why don't we cut to our final round, which had us go against the Mega Tonberry. In which case, we just punch the ever-living heck out of it. Punchy. Now, Chocobo Eater will be the one who will be getting us through the Youth League Cup, but I do have to mention that I have to change his moveset between episodes. I'll tell you just exactly how I did that and which ones he did. He's keeping Vigor because that is a godsend for any fiend. So, punch. Dealy dealy. Punch. These two will prevent you from getting to the Youth League Cup. They are specifically designed to always be in either opposing brackets, or sometimes they'll be in the same bracket and go against each other, and then you'll get lucky. But they are designed to be the last ones you will fight inside of the Grand Cup hard every time, once you get past your 3rd victory. So, X potions, the Black Ring, and the Youth League Tournament is now available. So anyway, everyone, gonna end it off right here. This has been Neronium. See you all for the Youth League. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to check out more Final Fantasy content, check out the top link for the prequel to this game, Final Fantasy X HD Remastered. And if you want to see a different Final Fantasy game, check out the bottom link for Final Fantasy XII, The Zodiac Age, done on the Xbox One.